Good evening, everybody, and welcome to tonight's webinar on Pro Delivery Manager. I must also say good morning and good afternoon to some of our attendees who are joining from outside of the UK. I'm Simon Tebbert from the National Pharmacy Association, and I also head up the sales and support for Pro Delivery Manager. I'm joined tonight by Gary Jones, founder and managing director of PDM, and Nick Sullivan, also from the MPA, who leads the first line support desk for PDM. We absolutely know that prescription deliveries are a very important service that you are providing, and we know this has grown in importance over the last year. Our macro data shows that deliveries are now 30% up on pre-pandemic levels, having reached a peak of 48% increase in the first few months last year. Therefore, having a digital solution to help and support you improve the governance and efficiency of your service is important. So tonight's session will give you an insight into the latest version of Pro Delivery Manager and why it might be the right solution for you. We will run a couple of live polls later in the session, and by taking part, it will help us provide some tailored feedback and follow-up for you to keep you updated and supported. So let's try that right now. So we're going to try a live poll, and it's a simple question. Are you using Pro Delivery Manager right now? So if you can click your yes and no's and submit, that would be fantastic.
Fantastic. We've had a flurry of responses in. Just give it a few more seconds, I think. Just allow anybody else that wants to. Okay, I think we've stopped there by the looks of it. So I'll just share that for you, Simon.
Great stuff.
There you go. So quite a split.
There we are. So a good even split there between people that are already using and looking at for a bit more information, I'm guessing, to see whether it's the right thing for you. So that's great, and it looks like that's working. So we've got a couple of questions later on, which will be really pertinent in helping us help you. So let's have a look at the agenda that we're going to run through tonight. It's really straightforward what we're going to go through today. So we're going to have Gary Jones is going to take us through the journey of Pro Delivery Manager and how we've got to where we've got to. We're also then going to have a couple of short videos of PDM in action. So Nick's going to take us through a whistle-stop tour of all the functions. I'll then be able to take you through the next steps and considerations for getting started. So this is also going to include some of the PMR partnerships that we've got coming on board, and importantly, pricing as well. We'll also then finish with a Q&A, but please do add any questions you have as we go along within the Q&A at the bottom of your screen. We'll try and answer as many questions as possible, but please do bear in mind that if the question is very specific to you and how you would use it, if you leave your name alongside the question, we'll be able to follow up with you after the session tonight. So without further ado, I'm going to hand over to Gary.
Right, good evening everyone, and thank you very much for the introduction, Simon. So as Simon said, my name is Gary Jones, and I've been an independent community pharmacist for 25 years. And those out there may sort of pick up on my slight regional accent, which indicates that I'm based in Wales. And PDM, or Pro Delivery Manager, was developed and designed on my dispensary bench to deal with the day-to-day chaos or thorns in my side, as I would say. So on a day-to-day basis, I would say that I've got three things that really get underneath my skin. First one is GP receptionist, which it really annoys me why I have to explain my clinical decisions to people that served coffee the week before. Dossett trays, especially when I'm doing it for convenience rather than for necessity. And one of the most annoying is deliveries, especially when I deliver prescriptions to people which are not home. Now, unfortunately, deliveries seem to be here to stay today's society, especially with COVID. We're sort of geared that we can sit as potato couches, or couch potatoes, I should say, and order everything we want from home without actually leaving. And this includes, obviously, pharmacy and medication. And of course, with large companies like Amazon and Pharmacy to You biting at our heels, we still need to provide a delivery service. So the key thing for us, and the key thing for PDM, is to improve the efficiency. By improving the efficiency, we can reduce the cost. Plus also, we need to make deliveries a bit easier for us on a day-to-day basis, and we're not so reliant on the delivery driver. And of course, the other one I get nagged a lot on is that it's also compliant with the GDPR and other legal issues. Now, to make your pharmacy more efficient in the delivery, the key is to increase the number of deliveries you could do per hour. And as a general that I've picked up over the last 7 years, a lot of pharmacies, which generally don't use PDM or unaware of the number of deliveries they do, they generally deliver between 4 to 6 deliveries per hour. And this is what I generally see as quite a bad criteria. Quite an average does between 6 to 12, and some pharmacies can reach up to about 14 to 20 deliveries per hour. Of course, for every more deliveries you do per hour, the less hours you need to employ the delivery driver. And if you think of it on a cost issue, minimum wage now is £8.90. By the time you pay national insurance, holiday pay, ill sickness, you're talking at least £10 an hour that's costing you to provide a delivery service. You take that over 5 days, 5 hours, £50 a week, 52 weeks a year, 2,600. So if you save 1 hour a day, you will save yourself £2,600 a year. And from my experience of running my own pharmacy and helping others, is that the inefficiencies appear from 2 areas. One is the inefficiency of the staff or the general running of the dispensary. And the other one, unfortunately, is the honesty of the driver. Now, I've got a whole list that I've made of areas this can improve, and I'll cover a couple of them. But one of the key questions I want to ask you now is that if you are unaware of how many deliveries you do in a day, a month, a week, or an hour, that by using PDM, you will probably save between £2,500 to £5,000 a year. I'll give you an example. Like, what time do you pay your driver to come in the morning, and what time is the first delivery done? Now, with PDM, it will show you exact time and location the first delivery was done. Now, in my case, I used to employ somebody at 9 o'clock, and I often saw that the first delivery wasn't done till 11 o'clock. Now, the question is, what was happening in those 2 hours? And generally, in my pharmacy, it was because we were waiting for the order to come in, or the driver was trying to convince me that he had to start at 9 o'clock to get all the deliveries done. It was only in time I realized that he actually went home and took the dog for a walk after he came in. But of course, I was paid for him for 9 o'clock. I also found that this increased immense stress in the pharmacy, where the delivery driver was tapping his feet, the staff was rushing around, you're waiting for the stock to come in, you have to find the basket. So you have to ask the question, is it really needed? Does he really need to come in at 9 o'clock? Can it be 10 o'clock, an hour saved? Does he deliver in the same area in the afternoon and in the morning? Does he keep coming back and forth during the day? And if you think about it, if you're traveling to a destination in a village or to the surgery in the morning, and then you go in the afternoon, why is that? Why are you doing that? Why is he coming back and forth? And usually, again, I found this usually to the inefficiency of the pharmacy, because the deliveries weren't ready for him when he came in. But of course, as an owner, you need to have this picture of what is happening, so then you can make the changes. I often looked at areas that we used to deliver to far-reaching areas, and then look and see, well, there's only 1 box of benzofurazide. Is it efficient? I mean, we're providing a free delivery service. Should I provide it at 20 miles away? I had one large group in the Midlands that used the app, and they asked me to have a look at it. And at that time, again, the driver spent a 20-mile round journey to go to a nursing home. And he didn't do just this once a day, he did it twice a day. And of course, he probably didn't bother the driver because he was probably sitting with the music on and have a coffee. But for head office, they couldn't see that, because as far as they're concerned, he was just doing his deliveries. Now, the other issue that I very much come across is the honesty of the driver. Sometimes you have a really good driver and things are great. And even I've had great drivers, but unfortunately, when I've used the tracking, not so good. Now I get a lot of people asking me, well, why do we use a van tracker? You know, that will tell me. But the point is the van tracker will tell you where the van is. It doesn't really tell you what the driver's doing there, where there is actually delivery. And if you're delivering 20, 30, 40, 50 deliveries, you don't really know where those deliveries are. But if you could clearly look on a PDM map and see that your van is 10 miles away from the nearest delivery that there is, you could easily say, well, what's he doing there? And then if he spends more than 5 minutes in one location, a red dot appears. So you don't need to strive hours going through and thinking, oh, what's going on? You just look at the map and you're thinking, why are those pins? Why there's no blue mark to him? Or why is he somewhere that there's no reason for him to be there? Or if he's there for half an hour. Now, the other key factor that I had not realized at the time was the time I saved for the staff. When we had a phone call saying, where's my delivery? And you instantly go to your PMR system to see whether you've done a prescription. If you haven't, then it's quite straightforward. You'd say, oh, sorry, we haven't had a prescription. We're traced for the surgery. Then you wish, oh my God, where can I record this to make sure that I don't forget now that there is a delivery coming? And sometimes you put in a clip or you would disappear. Again, with PDM, you could pre-sequence it. So it would appear, so the driver would know that there is a delivery to come. But even if he went to the PMR and found that there was a prescription done, but where is it? And the amount of times we had to phone the driver to see whether it was with the driver. And this was, and I'm thinking back before we even had mobile phones and before we had the app, we had to wait till the driver came back with a patient asking, you know, quite annoyed where it was. And then if you couldn't find it with the driver, you would go through the baskets or through the clip. And again, what my staff found is that by going on to Pro Delivery Manager, you could find straight away whether it was on the van, how long it would take. We've even got a notification system that even tells the patient how long it'd be till the driver gets there. It's optional where the pharmacy was to use that. What I often liked is that we'd send an email notification to the patient to tell them that it'll be there tomorrow, so we don't get that phone call. And what I realized then is that I reduced the number of delivery days. So we used to deliver somewhere 5 days a week. We'd get down to 3 days a week. But the patient would get an email the day, 2 days before to say, oh, your prescription is being processed. You will have it on the delivery on Tuesday the 14th. Of course, that saved the phone call, saved the patient phoning up, saved the time looking through the baskets, saved organization. And of course, the other hardest thing that I also found is that which, believe it or not, actually initiated PDM, is when my driver goes on holiday. And it's an absolute nightmare. I think it's easier to have my front teeth extracted than try and get my dispensary staff to do the deliveries. And of course, one of the issues is because nobody really knows where people live. And in this country, we have a tendency of naming houses and not numbers. So you just have a name of a house in a village. And also people, even on an estate, will take off the number of the house and put a name on it. And it's really difficult. And if you're a regular delivery driver, you would know where these houses are and where to park. But even if your driver doesn't turn up now, you could simply hand an app to somebody and say, oh, look, here's 30 deliveries. Yeah, it may take them an extra half an hour to do them. But you've given them a source of help or information for them to carry on with. Now, over the last 10 years, we have been using Pro Delivery Manager with version 1 and version 2. A lot of these functions are used, and a lot of information, as we say, we process over 1 million. But 3-4 years ago, I had a vision of how I could actually improve Pro Delivery Manager. And a lot of these were from suggestions that were given back from current users of version 2. And in fact, we have over 100 upgrades. And these were little ones, like you can now choose multiple patients at one time. You can actually name the drivers actually doing the deliveries rather than the routes. If a delivery is failed, it just doesn't disappear into today's delivery. It's actually recorded that it needs to be delivered again. But there were some other key factors of how much pharmacy is changing. Now, one example is that 13% of pharmacy errors is the wrong prescription delivered to a patient. So what we did in version 3 is that each patient has got a GPS location. And when the driver is either at that location or scans the bag, and if he's at the wrong location, it will pop up in red to tell the driver that they're in the wrong location and they need to check where they are or need to check the medication that they're actually about to give to the wrong patient. We've also got a facility on PDM where you could actually save the exact location as well. So if there's areas where the GPS is not as accurate, post office have the same issues, you could actually save the exact location. Now, the other thing that's in everyone's talking at the moment is hub and spoke. And I wanted to accommodate that even people with 2, 3, 4 branches run some sort of hub spoke. You know, you may be doing your Dorset trays from there, you may be doing a nursing home, or you may just have a bigger dispensary in one branch. And you think, well, why do we just take our repeats there and I've got an ACT there? So what we developed is something called sequences. So you could call a sequences of an event within an order. And this could be a sequence to collect the script from the surgery or from a branch, to take it to a hub. Once it's processed to the hub, it's passed on to a delivery driver. That delivery driver can either deliver it directly to the patient or deliver it back to the branch, where it can then be sequenced and put out for the shelf for the patient to collect. But it also means that the branch would be able to see exactly the process of where that prescription is. So when a patient phones up, because they're totally oblivious that a hub exists, all they're concerned is their pharmacy is the one on the high street. That branch would be able to have full access to see where the progress is. And also you're able then to utilize the effectiveness of your company. Now, the other major thing that we progressed with, which helps with hub and spoke, is entities. We created something called an entity, and the patient is linked to an entity, not to a branch. So if you've got 2 or 3 branches or a hub, and you've got a John Jones, and a John Jones is on a Dorset tray, then you would want that hub to actually have access to John Jones and the branch. So then both could see and process his prescription. And the people logging in, you could decide who has access to what entities, which would mean, or which patients that they can have access to. Now, one of the entities may be a care home or a nursing home, and you may decide to give them access just to see what time the medication is due to be delivered or what medication was due. Now, the other system that we was asked a lot for was to create a multiple task system. Now, version 3 is defaulted for deliveries, but you could actually create a collection task. And that collection task would mean that you want to go to a nursing home to collect any medication, or go to a surgery to collect, or go to a patient's home. And you could put that as a collection, and then it could be moved on automatically to a delivery. But also you could create different outcomes. So say, for example, that you've got, obviously we've all got different patients, different ages, and you may have somebody that's on diazepam or methadone, and you deliver to them. Now, when the driver goes there, you need them to have a specific outcome. At the moment, with version 2, it's either delivered or returned or left in an alternative place. But say if it's a methadone patient, it has to be given to the patient. So if the patient is not there, the driver only has 2 options: given to patient or return back to pharmacy. You may have another task for a patient that lives in a rural area, and you've had permission to leave it inside the house or in the conservatory. I mean, as you say, this needs, consent, and I know GPC is to have authorization of a signature. But you could put down that it could be, if the patient is not home, it's either returned to the pharmacy or it could be left with a neighbor. So you can actually set your patients up and tell the driver what the outcomes you want it to be, rather than just having notes or letting the driver decide. Because as a responsible pharmacist, you're the one that's going to be responsible for the actions of that driver. So it's important that the driver is told exactly what should happen to a prescription. Another thing we've created is tagging patients. So you could tag Dorset patients, control medication Dossets. So when a driver comes in and he just wants to find Dorset trays, he could just tag a filter and he could just see all the Dorset trays. You could also then do better reporting. You could tag or your diabetes, your heart pressure patients, or like I did, I tagged some patients as being annoying. So if I ever brought them up, I would know who they are. The other option we've got a full chemist druggist database on it. Certain patients, again, control medication. I used to scan the box in, so I knew exactly what was in the bag, just like you do in a supermarket with your checkout. I didn't do it for all prescriptions, but there was a few that I thought that it was suitable to do. What Nick is going to cover with you tonight is the simplicity that we've made version 3 to work very similar to version 2. It works as a default. So for new users or for people converting over, it's going to be quite a seamless procedure. A lot of things that I explained to you there is things that functionality that you could come into in time. It's a bit like using Word. You know, you could simply write a paragraph and save it, or 6 months down the road, you could start using all the functionalities like the bold, the video, extras to it. So Simon, that pretty much covers what I have to say.
Great, thank you, Gary. So now what we're going to do, we're going to hand over to Nick, who's going to show you what Gary's been taking you through in action. Over to you, Nick.
Hi, Simon. Thank you very much. So my name's Nick Sullivan. I head up first line support for Pro Delivery Manager. And what we've got a couple of videos to show you. First one being around process and how that looks actually in real life. So Simon, if you could play that first video, that'd be great.
No problem.
Welcome to Pro Delivery Manager version 3. To create a delivery, scan a 2D barcode. Click on New Order. Press Save. Select the customer you wish to route for delivery. Selection can be done by scanning the 2D barcode. Click Route. On reaching destination, select Customer. Capture signature. Photo capture in development.
Thanks, Simon. And so the next video we're going to show you is the majority of it's been recorded in live mode. So you'll see it as it works for yourselves, how it would work at your pharmacy. So Simon, if you could, and this will go into a bit more detail around what Gary talked about. So Simon, if you could play that video, that'd be great.
Certainly can. 1 second, let's do that.
When you first log into PDM Web, this will be the dashboard you see, and where you can see my cursor moving around, you'd have some information there, performance. What we're going to show you is the process of creating a delivery, and then we'll move into PDM app to show you how that's carried out. So within the menu system, you'd navigate around Pro Delivery using this, and you can access your customers. And what we're going to do is create a delivery for a patient using the scan function. So you can search patients using this, but we're going to use a scan. So you click into that area there, into the search function, and scan. It'll bring up the patient record, and you press New Order. At this point, you've got the ability to add notes and any tags. So if it's, for instance, a controlled or refrigerated item, we'll mark this one as urgent. Automatically defaults it to the courier group, and to that particular day. You can change this within your defaults and save. Once that task has been created, you can then review all deliveries for the day, going into orders, and there's 4 deliveries, 3 which I previously set up. I'll now move into PDM app, where you can see how we complete these deliveries via that system. Within the PDM app, when you first log in, you'll get a dashboard. And as you can see, there's 4 current tasks there. So if I click into those, you can see the 4 deliveries that we had in the system. And what the driver is able to do here is either use the search function to search for the patient, or the scan function, which is the barcode there. If they tap that, that'll open the camera and they can search using the barcodes. So what we have here is a list of tasks to complete, and the driver, as I said, can search, or we can simply select those deliveries you want to mark and move into a specific route. So we'll select those 4 and move them into a route. So we'll select route. We can give the route a label, but we're not going to do this on this occasion. And it can move from the current location back to the current location, or you can select other options depending on the entity's setup. We'll press select, and those tasks then will move into that route. So we'll move from my tasks into my routes. And this is where you get the option then to arrange them in the order which is optimized. So there's the 4 tasks there. We're going to press optimize. We'll optimize by driving, and that will now put them in order with the most optimized way to this, from the start point to the end point. And by telling the system start route, that's where we can begin driving and delivering to patients. The simplicity of this is, once you arrive at the patient address, you either scan again, depending on the size of volume of deliveries you've got, or click into the delivery, check the details. With this particular one, you can see it's a controlled drug. You press complete. You've got a highlight there at the top, the red bar, which is telling me I'm not in the current location, which if the driver was at that address, that would be green. It selected the patient details, and we're going to mark it as full order received by the contact and save. And that one then will disappear off the device and mark in the system that it's been completed. You also have the option of delivering to multiple sites in one go. So complete, outcome category. We need to select the contact from the drop down and save. And I'll just complete this final one as a failed. Patient isn't there, just to show what it looks like when it comes to the end of the route. So at this point, when all deliveries are completed, the driver would head back to the pharmacy or the end location which has been agreed and press finish route. And if going back to the dashboard, you can see that there's no tasks pending and they've completed their work. So back in PDM Web, I wanted to show you some of the functionality in reviewing orders, etc., and some other functionality. So within reviewing orders, you can access this from the menu system, and you have a series of tabs across the top there. It'll default to targeted today, but I wanted to show you this particular screen because you can change these columns to exactly like you want to customize it. And you're also able to filter using both the outcome of the deliveries, plus also the tags that have been applied to those patients. You can set up regular orders. So for instance, care homes or patients which you know you're always delivering to on a specific day of the week. This is simple. When you create your order for your customer patient, you can simply select the start date and end date if required. You can select the recurrence, so if it's daily, weekly, monthly, etc., for how long, and specific days of the week. And furthermore, you can show a preview of what that looks like across the coming weeks. Within communicating to your customers and your patients, you have a function within it for both SMS and email. We'll show you the simplicity of how this is to set up. So within event notifications from the main menu, from the administration menu, you can select what status changes. So for instance, this is when a status is changed for delivering to customer, and it's email, as you can see here. And you have the ability to customize exactly what you want to say to your patient. You can add hyperlinks if you want, and also you have the ability to add bits of information such as tracking links, order reference numbers, etc. And each of these placeholders will appear in these brackets like that. Within tracking, to try and understand your driver performance, where your driver is, and the outcome of some of the deliveries and the routes and how they followed those routes, you have the ability to understand that by using the tracking function. By selecting the date, the driver, and the actual route, you can see the driver performance on the screen, the route they've been designated based on the optimization, and just some examples here with the different colors. So for instance, green means they've been delivered, red means that they've attempted to deliver, but the patient wasn't there. And obviously, the more activity within this screen, the more data you'll be able to see to click into and understand your driver performance. You have the ability to sequence tasks within PDM Web. And this is for those with perhaps a more complex setup and where you've got a hub system possibly. So for instance, here you can add a specific task from a series of different selections, and you can add your own if you wish. Or you can add a sequence which you've pre-created, and that just instantly will create these 4 different steps here. So for instance, this example here is where you would have a courier collecting from a branch and delivering to a hub, and then subsequently someone collecting from a hub and then delivering to the customer. So you can customize this to exactly like you want. You have the ability to add customer tags to help with filtering your patient information and identifying those patients. So for instance, the defaults here are the bottom ones there. The top one, shielding, is something I've created for this purpose of demonstrating. And by selecting new customer tag, you can add different tags. There's a whole library of different icons you can use and colors, and you can label them exactly like you want and filter these within the order menu to understand those patients that fall within that category. And finally, setting up new users. This again, when you first create your Pro Delivery Manager account, you will be the default user. However, obviously you want branch staff and couriers added. So by entering their information and adding a new user, you can assign them to a specific group. You can assign them or provide them access to different entities within your organization. If it's a driver, you'd want to enable tracking. And then you've got the ability to either select from a template, which is predefined access, or using the tick boxes to be able to select what level of access you require. Should you require any support once signed up to Pro Delivery Manager, there's a telephone support line available Monday to Friday, 9 till 5. And you can email us on support@prodeliverymanager.com. Thank you. And thanks for that. So I'm going to hand you back to Simon.
Great. Thank you, Nick. I've been busy beavering away, answering the questions as they're coming in. So hopefully I won't get too distracted with that. But quite a few of the questions that we've had coming in have been in relation to barcode scanning, PMRs. So it'd be useful to be able to give you an update on where we are with the various partnerships. So Simon, if you can share the slide for me, that'd be great.
Of course, one moment.
So version 3 has been a big change for us in the fact that it's given us a lot more flexibility to how we can get Pro Delivery Manager working with the various PMR solutions. So a big thing for us is that whilst we've also been improving Pro Delivery Manager significantly, we've also been having a lot of conversations with the various PMR providers. So what I've done here is given you a headline of where we are with each of the each of the PMR providers. and what the type of solution they're going to be looking to develop with us. And there's a lot of TBCs on there, but I'll be able to give a bit more context to some of those as well. So any of you that are Positive Solutions users, there's a 2D barcode solution, and that is live now. So we've been having a number of testers over the start of 2021, and within the barcode, it includes all the information that's required to make Pro Delivery Manager work. So in fact, the video that you will have seen today, actually Nick was using the PSL barcode to make that work. So that will help you find, add patients. So you can scan it. If the patient doesn't exist in Pro Delivery Manager, it pre-populates all the information and you just save the details there. But you can also use that within the mobile app to find the delivery. You could run the system completely through the mobile app if you so wished. As I say, that's available now, and it's available. You can sign up for that through the Positive Solutions website, and they're going to be mailing out to all of their customers over the next couple of weeks to get people up and running with that. The next one is Cegedim, and this one's slightly different in the sense that we're going to be creating an integration with Pharmacy Manager. So they've already done quite a bit of the pre-work. So they're rolling out an update at the moment, which enables you to flag a prescription and with a patient as a delivery. So that's a new piece of functionality which is here to set things up for the future. So effectively you would mark it in Pharmacy Manager, and that will just send all the information and create the delivery in Pro Delivery Manager. So we're just working through the timeline on that, but it's pretty short term, and we'll be able to let anybody knows that there's going to be a poll coming soon that says they're a Cegedim user. We'll be able to let you know and give you an early heads up of when that's coming. Hot off the press is that we have got a partnership agreed with EMIS. So this will be to work with ProScript Connect. So whilst we haven't and can't indicate what the type of solution is, it's likely that, at least in the first instance, it will be something similar to the Positive Solutions mechanic, whereby it would be a 2D barcode label with all the information. So it would run very similar to what you would have seen during the demo today. With RxWeb, they're launching a 2D barcode in April time. But that will only have the NHS number in for go live, and they're looking to expand that out again to create a solution with all the information you need to run Pro Delivery Manager just through barcode scanning. But there isn't a timeline for the secondary part to that. And there was a very specific question around getting a data extract from RxWeb. There is a PDM report that can be generated straight out of RxWeb, but they are going to be amending that to include the NHS number, which is the unique key to the patient. And for all of our customers over in Northern Ireland, we are working on an integration with McLernan's on their MPS, and again, they've already done the work to be able to start to mark a patient as a delivery patient. So that hasn't been pushed out to users yet, that first step, but we are sort of quite some way down the road with that. So they've been working on that since pre-Christmas. So you're going to have the option to capture and let us know if you're using any other PMR. But what the solutions that we're working with the various providers will mean is that the days, and the existing users will know this, the days when you used to have to drive a patient database out of an extract out of the PMR, map it to the fields in Pro Delivery Manager, they won't be required because you'll be able to either have all the information within a barcode or have the data come directly across from your PMR directly into PDM. So it just means getting started is a lot quicker and running on the go is a lot easier. It will pick up those little things such as the fact that a patient may have moved, and it will know that, and it will just amend the address in the background. So there's a lot of benefits that are coming with the new solution, and hopefully we've going to be able to capture most customers will be able to use one of the new solutions. And if there is any other PMR that somebody uses, let us know, and we'll have some conversations with them and see if we can get some solutions up and running with them as well. So one of the key things to note with any of these solutions that we're talking about here, and this is particularly relevant for existing users, they all work on a unique key, which is the patient identifier. So whether that's NHS number, KIND number, HCN, and we know most of our customers don't have those numbers in Pro Delivery Manager. So there will be some decisions that you might need to take, and we can talk to you individually about those, and we can sort of have calls through the support desk with you to help you understand what's the right solution for you as to whether it's to stop with the version 2 for the foreseeable, whether to upgrade to version 3, or whether to upgrade with version 3 with one of the PMR solutions that are coming on board as well. So if you want any help or support with that, we're here to help at support@prodeliverymanager.com. So that's what's coming down the line. Simon, if we can click onto the slide, it's always the question that we get asked around pricing.
Hopefully you can see that.
Yeah. So, Pro Delivery Manager, as we always have been, we've always been really transparent as to how Pro Delivery Manager is priced. There is a slight benefit for MPA members based on the fact that MPA owns a share of the business. But you can see here in the model that's on our website, published on the website. It's £44.95 is the standard pricing, and that's per customer. So Pro Delivery Manager used to be billed on a per branch basis. It's now at a customer level. So you pay that one fee, and as I say, it's a £10 discount if you're an MPA member. And within that, you get 1,000 deliveries per month. And then any additional delivery thereafter, you pay 4p a delivery. So it's completely unlimited users and branches. It's all purely based upon the number of deliveries that you make. And within that, you have a free trial period as well. So you can see the worked example there as to what an MPA member with 5 branches doing 40 deliveries a day what it would cost them. So that's the pricing. Simon, if we can move on to the next slide for me as well. So this is just a recap on the help and support. Our website, prodeliverymanager.com, that's where you'll go to be able to sign up. Dependent on, as and when the various partnerships come on board, we'll need to know that you're going to be using that system. So we'll be setting up bespoke sign-up pages for each of the PMR solutions, but we can always adapt and amend that in the background by speaking to us. But any help or support you want, there's the phone number there, or if you and that's available 9 to 5 during the week, excluding bank holidays, or you can email at support@prodeliverymanager.com. And a lot of you existing customers may have already spoken to Nick, and I know a couple of our colleagues are also on the call. So we're here to help, and we've got your interest at heart because we really want to make sure that you're getting the most out of the system. So that's by way of an update from ourselves. Whilst I've been talking, I can see there's been a little bit of a flurry of some questions that have come in, and Nick and Gary have obviously been taking it easy whilst I've been running the session, because I've noticed they've not been answering them as we go along. I don't know whether there's any questions that you want to call out for us to be able to answer live. There was one actually, I think, to start with that might be useful. Was around route optimization. I think that was about where we finished off. We are in the process of rolling out a new optimization tool. So we used to use Google Maps. That has a limitation on how it's used, and I know some of you have felt that before, and I can see that in some of the questions, because it can only optimize 25 sites, and then it daisy chains them together. Our new solution will be able to route up to 150 in one go in the most efficient way. So we built that from the ground up using available widgets that are available. Our lead developer is a very clever chap. So you know, in real life and in simulation, it performs a lot better. So it will be available to everybody, I believe, by the end of March. It will be rolled out for everyone.
So Simon, there's a question here about getting up to speed and using the software, setting it up, and I'll answer that one quite quickly. If anyone online today is interested in getting started, please get in touch through support@prodeliverymanager.com. We can set up a Zoom call, talk you through the process of getting set up and up to speed. So yeah, please get in touch, and we're here to support you at the end of the day. Another question there, Simon's around, would you expect prices to go up after PMR integrations?
So that's a really interesting question. It may depend on the type of integration it is. So Positive Solutions, for example, which is the one that's now live, that doesn't cost the users anything at all. So, you know, where we can mitigate the need for it, you know, we will work with the PMR providers to stop that. But you know, as and when they come on board, we'll be able to let people know what the specific terms are. But we are absolutely aiming to have an approach like we have with PSL, which is the fact that it doesn't cost you any more money to use it, either paying PSL or Pro Delivery Manager. So there's a couple of questions about scanning I can see as well. So there was barcode scanning is the 2D barcode on prescription. So dependent on the PMR, there may be barcode solutions, and you would use that and scan, so that will get printed out at the point of dispensing the prescription. But if you're in a devolved country, you can use barcode scanning off of the RX, which I think is what that's perhaps suggesting there. So, so Wales, Scotland, Northern Ireland, there is a specific barcode for those people that don't know, which contains NHS number, patient name and address. And we have a number of users that use that in branch just to get things up and running, and then the driver uses and just marks out manually as they go along. So as you can see, there's options here which, you know, run off of that or the PMR, or completely standalone. You know, there's absolute choice for you within that. So when will this be integrated into RxWeb and EMIS? So RxWeb, as I said, they're looking to launch their barcode just with the NHS number around about April time. So that would need a patient in the first instance, an extract from RxWeb. So it includes the NHS number. So that's the bit of work they need to do just to tweak that standard report. And then the barcode would scan, and you would just be able to find and add patients. What it won't do is cross-reference address and match it from that perspective, but they are looking to develop that down the line as well. So what else have we got in there? So so the new software about optimization, is that version 2 as well? Yes, it's across the piece, because we know it will benefit everybody. Generally speaking, going forward, we're not going to be creating any development for version 2, because the product will, you know, it still works, and we'll be able to support that. But we know that it will have, you know, it has benefits for yourself. It also has benefits for us in terms of our ability to sort of run the software as well. So what help is there to get the software installed up front? Is that the question you asked, Nick? Answered from Sunil?
That's it.
Yeah. Okay, just want to mark that one off. Yeah, so in fact, one of our support team has actually asked whether drivers can prove delivery by taking an image rather than a patient signature. So yes, we are in the process, and within the next couple of months, we're looking to have photo capture instead of signatures available. As you would have seen, we've got the ability now, so you can turn on and off signatures as you go along. But photos is coming. We know that it's standard. It's one of the things that we've been developing in the background. Again, though, that will only be a new feature that's added to version 3. So tracking gives an incorrect partial route taken by the driver. So Jeff, what we can do, we will follow that up with you specifically. So my colleague Nick will follow that up and be able to sort of give you some hints and tips on that. PDM is not it's not a tracking tool, so it only tracks every 3 minutes, which will be part of the point there. So question around for the new pricing model, do all branches need to be the same legal entity? It's however you structure your account. So that's down to you really. So if you only wanted one account across several limited companies, that's absolutely fine. So I know there's been a couple of questions around mobile phones. Yeah, it's in terms of having the device, there is a spec list on the PDM site as well. But there's a good piece of feedback from Paul there. So any plans for a patient app, then we could send notifications without an SMS charge. So you can send notifications on PDM by email. There's no cost for that because we use a third-party server for SMS. That's why there's an additional fee that sits within that. We are looking and have had some conversations with a number of patient apps as well. So I would expect at some point, once we've got PMRs all up and running, that might be something, or will be something that we'll be looking at, because it creates a nice, neat solution then that it's completely integrated. But as I say, you're from a notification perspective, emails are completely free of charge. SMSs, there has to be a charge because there's a charge to us, and we're all business people. So yeah, is the 4p charge per message for each delivery? So in terms of messages, so if you're talking about SMSs, it's 4p for every text message. If that's about deliveries, it's 4p for every delivery over the 1,000 that you pay for within that initial customer fee. Do you have an instruction sheet for new drivers? So there's lots of help guides that are available on PDM, and we can, if there's something that would be useful, we can always work on a help guide to help temporary drivers be able to use the app. So we'll have a look at the resources that are available on there as well. So my colleague Nick will be able to ping across a link to anything that we think is relevant for you. So I know there's a bit there about the 1,000 delivery cap and why we charge an extra for deliveries. As an organisation, we price PDM very competitively. It's one of the key things that both MPA and Gary agree upon, is that we want to be fair and transparent. Our old pricing model was worked on a per branch fee, and some branches do 20 deliveries a day, some branches do 200 deliveries a day, and each of those has a different cost associated with running them. So by putting in the 1,000 delivery cap and then the pence per delivery, it actually makes it relatively equitable to the pricing that Pro Delivery Manager has had on average in the past. But if you're an existing version 2 user, you can continue to use Pro Delivery Manager in its current guise as well. And over the last couple of weeks, we have been recommending some people do that whereby it's the best option for them. And that's the key thing, really, is that we want to help you have the best version of the software and the best way of working. So we can work. You contact us on support@prodeliverymanager.com, and we'll be able to help you with that. So how quickly would you transfer from version? How long would it take from version 2 to version 3 take? This is where we sort of talked about in the PMR slide, really, is that you would really need to want to make certain that it's the right decision for you in the first place. So at the moment, there isn't like a button you can press, because they're whole completely new accounts, different data structures. But we can help and support people that want to move across. If you wanted to start with one of the PMR solutions when they come on board, firstly, you would probably want to wait until they come on board, but they do run off NHS numbers, so they work very, very differently to perhaps how you would have used it before. So again, drop us an email across to the support desk, and we can start to have a conversation with you and see what would be the right solution for you. I can't, unfortunately, because it's come as anonymous, we won't be able to actively reach out to you, but if you email us, we'll be able to follow that up for you. So does the patient get notification through the app rather than emails or text? So the Pro Delivery Manager app, mobile app, is for the business only. It's not for the patient. So the patient, if it's all set up, they'll receive a notification, and that can include a tracking link if you also enable that as well. So does it allow for multi-depot optimization? Yes, it does. The driver will just pick up from each of the branches and then optimize the route, and then it will do it in the most efficient way thereafter. What about cash on delivery confirmation? It's an interesting one. So I know that Husam there has come up with a number of new ideas. It is something that we'd actually part developed. We haven't released it yet, and we haven't finalized it off. But it is something that we had a little bit of feedback on previously, but not that much. But we have done some work in the background. So again, it could be something that we can pick up at a later date if our customer base decide it's something that's important. So it says here, is version 2 unlimited deliveries, including the monthly premium, or is it 4p charge? So that's on a per branch flat fee. There is a fair usage cap that's in place, but we notify and we have notified customers that are over that cap. But it's a legacy piece of software. Early adopters are on that, so it is only a flat fee, but it isn't a version of the software that people can actively choose to go on to. Anybody that signs up to Pro Delivery Manager now goes on to the new version. So there's a current cap on 3,000 customers on version 2. Yeah, as many as you like. That's been overcome. Do you have a timescale with integration with Pharmacy Manager? I have a tentative date. I'm just not allowed to tell you, but it's coming soon. So they've been doing work since pre-Christmas. So you may already have the version that you're now able to mark a patient and delivery as a delivery. we'll be able to let you know a lot sooner, quite soon actually on that. So we have another follow-up session with their product director tomorrow, where we hopefully will have enough information that we can start to let people know. Okay, so yeah, so I can see that Nick's answering a couple of questions there. So there is a question there about, would you be able to create a barcode while we're waiting for PMR system? Yeah, it's already there. So in both version 2, version 3, in PDM, you can create a bag label, which has a specific barcode that ties it to the delivery. What it won't do is be a barcode, obviously, which you scan in, but you create it in there, and it's a delivery label, which then your driver can get the efficiency from just by scanning. So whilst Nick's just finishing off a couple of those questions, we've got 2 more polls that we want to be able to run, and please take part in these if you're wanting us to be able to actively reach out to you and help and support you. So hopefully Simon's still there, and
certainly am.
Run the polls for me. So if we can run that first one, which is, do you think you may start using the latest version of Pro Delivery Manager in the next 3 months? We'll give you a few seconds with that. Say this will help us be able to just, we can follow up with you directly and give you some of that support and help you make that decision, help you make that transition.
Okay, we've had about half our audience respond so far, so let's give it a few more moments. Okie dokie, just a few more seconds. Okay, let's close that off then, so I can share those results.
Great. Well, that's great. So we'll have captured those of you that you said yes, and we'll be able to help and support you with that. And if there's any feedback for those people that aren't so sure, that's great also. If we can help you make the right decisions, that's what we're here to do. But if there was any questions that you had, please let us know and follow up afterwards. And then the last poll, which will again help us be even more specific and be able to keep you updated, is just asking around which PMR that you use. If you use more than one, if you've got more than one branch and you're using it across a different PMR, you can choose multiple options as well. And this will just help us keep you updated with where things are at, and let you know, and a bit of a sneaky peek, and try and get you using it sooner rather than later once we've got the solution in place.
Just to add there, actually, Simon, the Zoom poll doesn't allow us to for people to type in text. So if anybody that's put other, please do pop the details in the Q&A for us. That would be really useful.
Great. I did see a question which I think somebody must have asked earlier about Titan. So in one of the questions, so I think
fantastic.
Either Nick or Gary, it might be the person that's just typed Titan. So
fantastic. Okie dokie, I think that's everybody. Just give you a few more seconds. Anybody wants to do that? No? Okay, I'll end that there. Okay, and I'm going to share that as well. There you go.
Great stuff. Oh, that's interesting. It's not indicative of the PMR market, I believe. So, no, very interesting. So, obviously, no colleagues from Northern Ireland over here, or certainly nobody that uses McLernan. So that's great. Thank you, Simon. So we'll continue to capture the questions that we've got here. Looks like they've slowed down a little bit, but I just would like to thank everybody for joining us this evening or morning or afternoon, as I know it is for some of you. So thank you for your time on a Thursday afternoon, and thank you. And yeah, we'll be speaking with you soon. But last thing to say, support at Pro Delivery Manager. That's the place to get in contact, and the team are here to be able to help and support you. and make sure that we can help you make the right choice. And when you're ready to make that transition, great, we'll be there to support you. And if you're a current user and want to stick with version 2, that's also fantastic as well. So thank you very much, and I'll bid you all a good evening. Thank you.